Happy Mondays, Dr. Tonya here. And I thought this week it would be a great week to talk about communication in relationships. And so these tips can really apply to any type of relationship, whether it's romantic, professional, with your family. And so I just want to give three quick tips. And so the first tip is to try to avoid using absolutes. So absolutes are words like never, always. When you say things like you're never going to change, not very positive, not very inspiring. And obviously, accusatory, they're going to feel defensive. And so it's already going to take the communication down a negative road. And so you want to try to avoid using words like you never, you always. And so, yes, there are some exceptions to the rule. If you say, like, oh, you always look nice. And so, of course, that can be received well. But in general, when people start off or use absolute terms, it's oftentimes in a negative way. And so that leads to the second tip, which is to be mindful of how the connotation of the words you're using is going to be received. Not what you said. You may have not intended that, but how it's interpreted and received might have a negative connotation. So try to avoid things like one thing, particularly women are generally in studies to be found to be more relational in their communication and have more of a desire to talk more in their communication. And so, particularly for men, when you say things like, we need to talk, let's meet tonight at 7, they're automatically going to want to avoid the conversation because they're thinking it's going to be a negative. Even if I said that to my son, or if he said that to, he's going to automatically think, okay, what did I do today? What going through a list of all the bad things he did, and that he must need to defend himself. But if you start off in a more positive connotation, it's like, I have something I want to share with you today. Let's have lunch today. Let's have dinner today. Let's talk about, I want to share something with you. Automatically, you're thinking, okay, what is this, that we're going to talk about? It has at least a more positive connotation to it. And the last tip is to avoid being overly negative or critical. Obviously, this can create a toxic relationship if all you do is have negative critical things to say about the other person. Then not likely that you're going to want to talk and have good communication. So, in like I mentioned earlier, starting off statements with like you need to do this, we can't fix anyone, first of all. But sometimes I think people start off because they're trying to help the other person to see, but it's really not helping them. They're really not going to be motivated to change by really overly negative critical things. And so you can say, when you do this, it makes me feel like this. And this is how I interpret this when you say this. Yes, you're going to have difficult conversations and be able to talk through things, but you can do so in a way that's not in a negative tone and still respects and honors the other person. And so that's my tips for this week. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will be back next week with more motivation, more tips. You can always subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me at Dr. Tonya Fanor. Take care.